Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books are sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. Hey, and welcome back to This Dish. It's May 22nd, and on this day in 1988, it was a head-to-head battle of two NBA stars in a Game 7. This is the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals between the Atlanta Hawks and the Boston Celtics. Dominique Wilkins, a.k.a. the human highlight reel, versus Larry Legend in the Garden. The Hawks were stinging a little bit after reeling off 3 straight wins in this series to take a 3-2 series lead. Atlanta had a chance to close out the series in Game 6 on their home floor, but they failed to rise to the moment. With 4 seconds to play in that game, the Hawks had the ball and a chance to tie it, but Doc Rivers made a questionable decision to pass it off to Cliff Livingston instead of Neek, who, to be fair, was closely guarded by Dennis Johnson, but still, Livingston was not the guy you wanted with the ball in that moment. And yeah, he missed the shot. The Celtics won by a bucket, and the series returned to Boston for the decisive game. And this boiled down to a mano-a-mano matchup between two future Hall of Famers. Brent Musburger had the call that day for CBS.
Bird now cuts free. Putting Boston ahead. Here's Wilkins. And that's what they must have. Bird gets it in low on the turnaround against Wilkins. Dominique hits a 3.
It's a duel. Put down your saber. A mano-mano duel. Bird versus Wilkins.
It's Bird's turn. Comes up with a shot, and the Celtics lead it. Wilkins this time gives it up and then gets it back. And Dominique high off the glass.
I don't think I've ever seen two stars respond like they have in this fourth quarter. Both Bird and Dominique Wilkins. Well, who's going to blink first?
Neither one of these guys blinked. The fourth quarter these two guys had was epic. Dominique scored 16 of his 47 points that day in the fourth. Bird, not to be outdone, scored 20 of his 34 in the final 12 minutes. His final bucket coming on this scoop shot described by Musburger.
Defensive stop, a must here for the Hawks. Johnson gets it into Bird, and Wilkins is there. Bird comes free. Bird for the layup. You are watching what greatness is all about.
The Celtics won the game 118-116. It was the 8th time in 9 postseason meetings that Boston had ended Atlanta's season. So, from those two legends, let's go to the birth of another one. Maybe that's being a little dramatic, but let me explain. On this day in 2009, it was LeBron James hitting his first postseason game winner. This was Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals between LeBron's Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic. Game 1 had been a classic, and the Cavs had 2 shots in the final seconds of that one to win, but neither shot was taken by LeBron, and neither shot went in. So here in Game 2, the Cavs had fought back from a 23-point deficit to put themselves in a position to win it. With 1 second to play in Game 2, Magic up 2, Cavs with the ball and facing the very real possibility of going down 0-2 in the series. Here's Marv Albert with the call from the TNT broadcast that night.
Bo Williams will throw in. Rashard Lewis playing off the ball. Lewis gets it to LeBron for 3 for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer as the Cavaliers have pulled it out to tie the series, and what a miraculous shot by James!
It was the only 3 that LeBron had in the game, and it gave the Cavaliers the 96-95 win and evened the series at a game apiece. So, why do we not talk about this shot in the same breath as Jordan's shot over Elo, or his championship-winning shot to beat the Jazz, or even Kawhi Leonard's buzzer-beating Plinko shot to beat Philadelphia in a Game 7? Well, simply put, the Cavaliers did not go on to win this series. The Magic won the next two in Orlando and then closed it out when the series went back to Orlando for Game 6. If the Cavs had rewritten history and gone on to the finals to play the Lakers, then we probably would be talking about it as one of the all-time great moments. But of course, there were still plenty of great moments to come for the NBA's all-time leading scorer. What happened on this night was just part of that legacy. Moving on to a couple of great moments for women on this day in sports history. In 1977, race car driver Janet Guthrie became the first woman to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Guthrie had actually participated in practice and a rookie test the year before in 1976. She even ran a Penske car on bump day the year before and ran a fast enough lap to attempt to qualify, but did not make a go at it. So here she was a year later in 77 with the intent to make the starting grid. In practice on day one, Guthrie had the fastest lap. But when she hit the wall later in practice, it damaged the car a bit, but not badly enough that she couldn't make a run at a spot. On bump day, or the final day to qualify, Guthrie was the first car on the track and ran a 4-lap average of 188.404 miles per hour to make the race field and become the first woman to compete at the Indianapolis 500. She started on the 9th row of 11. Race day did not go well for her, though. She had engine trouble early and spent a lot of the day in the pits. She only completed 27 of the 200 laps, finishing 26th. In 2003, Annika Sorenstam played against the men in the Bank of America Colonial Golf Tournament, becoming the first woman to play in a PGA Tour event since Babe Didrikson Zaharias back in 1945. The then 32-year-old Sorenstam was the best women's golfer on the planet at the time, and though there was some resistance to her playing, most famously by Vijay Singh, who said he would drop out if he got paired with her, she did get a lot of support from other guys out there. Tiger thought it would be unfair to judge her on just one tournament. It would be better if she played 5 or 6 of them. Phil Mickelson said that it's not a men's tour, it's the best golfers in the world tour, so she deserved the invite. Sorenstam was admittedly nervous as she stepped to the first tee on this day, but after she striped it down the middle, she let out a visible sigh of relief. She played solidly, parring 12 of the first 13 holes, hit 13 of 14 fairways, and made a birdie. She finished the first round at 1 over. Her second round was a little bit different, shooting a 4 over 74, and she missed the cut. In 1963, Mickey Mantle hit another of his tape measure home runs to end the game against Kansas City at Yankee Stadium. In the 11th inning, he took a 2-0 Bill Fisher fastball deep to right. People said it sounded like a cannon shot. The ball was still rising when it hit the facade that is 108 feet above the field. It nearly left the stadium. Mantle said it was the hardest ball he had ever hit in his career, and if it had been able to continue on its journey, it's estimated it would have traveled between 636 feet and 734 feet, which obviously would have qualified it for the longest home run in Major League history. And in 1976, heavyweight boxer Oscar Ringo Bonavena was shot and killed outside of the famed Mustang Ranch brothel. Bonavena was a wild, swinging journeyman fighter from Argentina. He got a title shot against Joe Frazier in 1968, losing in a 15-round decision. He was Muhammad Ali's second opponent after his 3-year suspension for refusing the draft. They fought in 1970 with Ali knocking him down 3 times in the final round to beat Bonavena by TKO. Well, on this day in 1976, Bonavena may or may not have been having an affair with the wife of the owner of the Mustang Ranch, who also happened to be his boxing manager. Joe Conforte was the owner of the Mustang Ranch, and when Bonavena got out of his car that day, Conforte's bodyguard shot him in the heart. Conforte not only believed Bonavena was sleeping with his wife, Sally, but that he was coming to the ranch that day to kill him and take over the business. Helping to lend credence to that theory is that Bonavena had Sally's gun hidden in his boot. Argentinians were outraged upon hearing about the killing, and even more so when the bodyguard pleaded no contest to manslaughter after the first trial ended in a mistrial. Bonavena was 33 when he died on this day. And time now for today's non-sports Did You Know? The Elton John song Philadelphia Freedom was written for women's tennis icon Billie Jean King. The song is not about her, but was written as a gift. King was coaching a tennis team called the Philadelphia Freedoms, and after meeting Elton, King gifted him a tracksuit with the name Philadelphia Freedoms on it. In return, Elton wrote the song as a gift. The song soared to #1 in both the US and Canada. That's all for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.